Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, this is a snapshot of our radar very early in the morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning here on Tuesday. And it's so strange to look here across the United States and really just see the heavier snow that just moved through parts of Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska, a little bit of Kansas last night. What's so strange about it is I know what is coming, and this is what's coming. This is our all hazards weather map. And for our southern region, the storm system that is coming out of Colorado and heading here toward the Great Lakes states, but we will most certainly be on the south side of this. And this will be a very, very deep low pressure system. So from New Mexico through parts of Texas and Oklahoma, our major threat today is going to be from incredibly strong winds. And then as this system pulls toward Iowa, we will be watching this corridor and through here for strong to severe storms. And what we need to do is understand the timing of this system, how things change in front of it and behind it, and what those winds are going to look like, because this is just round one of two very powerful storm systems that are moving across the United States during this Thanksgiving week. So let's get right into the details and take a look at what we're watching here. Storm Prediction Center issued this early this morning. This is the region they're most concerned about today for having strong to severe thunderstorms. So primarily it is going to be your mid-Mississippi River corridor here. So coming down here into parts of Missouri, getting into Arkansas, but you're going to see in a few moments those storms will try to push there across the river, and we'll take a look at the timing of that. Now, there's no point in showing you day two because this system gets out so fast that it's not going to be timed well enough with the instability in the day to bring up a severe weather threat as the system exits the East Coast here. So it's kind of a one-day shot at some nasty storms. Now, before I show the storms, take a look at these winds. Now, what we're looking at here are the wind gusts, and they're measured about 30 feet above the ground. And when you take a look at some of these numbers, it's incredible. So I'll play this and pause it right about here. This is Tuesday midday, right around noon. We are already seeing through parts of New Mexico and Texas, this little corridor right in through here, where the wind gusts are going to be up here in the 50-mile-an-hour range, and we may have a few of them topping out over 60. This is later in the afternoon. Let's get right to about 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. You can see the main front, which is right in through here, and thankfully, as the sun does set, I'm going to say it this way, the winds do calm down a little bit. They calm down from 60-mile-an-hour gusts to, something more reasonable, like 40-mile-an-hour gusts. And you can see how well the front is defined. Look at the strong westerlies on the backside and the southerly winds out ahead of it. Well, if we keep playing this forward, we can see that tomorrow, this is now getting into the overnight hours tonight, so this is early Wednesday morning, getting into Wednesday midday. That front makes it all the way to about right here by the time sun is rising on Wednesday. Now, if you're making a trip, and let's say you're in Alabama and you've got to get north to south, this will be a great morning to make that trip because you'll have incredible gas mileage pushed along by a 40-mile-an-hour wind. But you see it'll quickly shift. The winds will shift by the time we get to about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and the main frontal boundary is sitting right in through here. Meanwhile, higher atmospheric pressure takes back control here. Things do calm down midday Wednesday for parts of the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. Now, with this system finally pushing through the Great Lakes, high pressure builds in for the day well, at least Wednesday night into Thursday. And so we have a day where things are going to be relatively calm, but the next system, the one that just went through California, is cranking up, and it's going to be causing some major problems beyond that. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. We're going to switch from our winds right over to our what we expect the radar to look like. So this is a simulated composite radar reflectivity image. So this is starting us off about 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, so we can see the snow still up here in parts of the central plains, getting into the high plains, but watch as this storm system emerges, waiting to see the squall line that comes out of this. So through mid-morning, all the way through about the early part of the afternoon, where the moisture is being advected or pulled from the Gulf of Mexico, it'll be right along this corridor that I'm anticipating a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, as the main frontal boundary begins to take shape by Tuesday afternoon and evening, right in through here, this will be the region we're going to be watching for some strong to severe storms. So your timing on this will be late this afternoon into the early evening hours, right there through parts of Missouri and Arkansas. And then as we get into the evening, it'll then spread here across parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, and then getting down into Mississippi and the tail end of Louisiana. So very strong winds with this system, a lot of very brief but very heavy rainfall, and we are anticipating a lot of lightning out of these storms. They're very highly sheared, and we'll pay close attention to exactly what formation they take. Now, this is valid late in the evening This is about 2 o'clock in the morning. And at that time, the main front will actually be here. So this is like a prefrontal band. The main front will sit right in through here. And you can see that front from, gosh, this is 2 a.m., 3 a.m., from 3 a.m. in the morning all the way until about noon has cleared through the southeast. I mean, it is just blasting through here very, very quickly. Now, I told you high pressure tries to build in behind this, but we've got another system already to talk about. Take a look at this. So the new system is emerging in California throughout the day on Tuesday into Wednesday, and it is advecting an enormous amount of moisture out of the south, Pacific right in through here. And it's coming across the mountains. Now, Texas, while you got a day off here, take a look at what's happening on your Thanksgiving. We will see widespread rain stretching through a big section of Texas in the early morning hours, where it could be cold enough to have a transition over to some freezing rain and some snow right in through this corridor here, from New Mexico, southeastern Colorado, getting over into Kansas. But watch right in through this area as well, as the warm air cuts right over the top of some cold air at the surface. Now, about the time you want to be waking up on the day on Thanksgiving, this is what things look like. So this is 6 a.m. on Thanksgiving. So widespread rain in through this area, and the snow and the freezing rain still clipping this region here of our southern region. Now, this model only runs out 60 hours. It's one of our high-resolution models, but this gets us through midday on Thanksgiving, and you can see another round of showers and storms cutting right through this area. So these are our two very large low-pressure systems moving through, and before I kind of show you how the European model takes them out, I want to give you the overall pattern, okay? So let's play that out. As we watch system number one, that one goes racing up here, drags the front through. This is the big dog right behind it here. And that one cuts through California, and look at all the warm air advection out ahead of this. That's filling the atmosphere full of moisture by the time we get into the day. So let's just say here, this is Thursday morning. So remember, it's out of a trough into a ridge that we have our best upper level support for low pressure development. So you can just literally see this thing as a moisture pump shoving it right in through this area. And this is where the heights are going to be falling, the pressure is going to be falling, and that's where the system is going to be developing. So as we go forward, this now gets us into Friday, and that low pressure system goes cranking through the midsection of the United States. And it's behind this one that we get pretty substantial cool off in temperatures for our weekend into the early part of next week. Now watch what the pattern tries to do. As we get out here to Wednesday, December the 4th, Thursday, December the 5th, getting into Friday, December the 6th, the models are suggesting that we could get, well, a bit of a relaxation of the pattern. But I see at this time a cranking up of the subtropical jet stream, which means it's not exactly as though our southern region into week 2 is going to go over drier or substantially warmer. And let me show what I'm talking about there. First, this is the European model's depiction of these next two systems. We've seen system number one. So let's get right here. This would be when you wake up on Thanksgiving. Remember, we saw the widespread rain out ahead of the deep trough here. Snow in this part of New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma. This clip in this part of Oklahoma, southeastern Colorado, and Kansas. As we get throughout the day, this is Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, getting into early Friday morning. That's when the bigger system begins to emerge in the central United States. So this is now Friday evening, Saturday morning. I'm watching again in the day on Saturday for more severe weather right in through this area. So we have multiple chances of rain over the next 3 days for this corridor here. Not next 3 days, next 5 days, excuse me. So that system then blows up here in the north central plains by Saturday afternoon. That's what you're looking at here. This is now getting into early in the morning on Sunday. And as this passes through, another round of showers and storms here for parts of the lower Mississippi River Valley. And then as we get into Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and Sunday evening, it'll finally kick out through the southeast. Now, it's this point, the winds are coming straight out of the north, really cold air on the backside of this system. And that's when things maybe calm down just a bit. What I mean by that is by Monday into Tuesday, Wednesday, higher atmospheric pressure takes over, and we have a much drier start to next week than we did this week, of course. Now, at this point, we start to see something showing up over here in the models coming out of California. And again, I'm getting some indications that we could get a strong subtropical branch as we get into the past the first few days of December, but then into kind of that first full week of December. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about there. You see, over the next 7 days, I have the GFS on the left and the European on the right. Both models are pretty well keyed in on precipitation amounts. So pause the video. You're looking at it in high resolution, play it in full screen. You can kind of get a sense of your location and how much precipitation is coming out of these next two big systems. Remember, both of them are taking tracks just like this. So that's why, parts of the southeast, that's probably going to be our driest part of our southern region, because when systems lift, they tend to drag weaker fronts through the southeast rather than when they dig like this. So that is the difference in the trajectory. And I just want to show you in terms of snowfall, the probability of grabbing at least 3 inches over the next 10 days. New Mexico, Panhandles, you can see there that we have a decent shot at doing that. Outside of that, it's just after that last system goes squeaking through at the end of this upcoming weekend that parts of the Appalachian Mountains might get some snow as well. So again, that's the system, that's the second one that will be going through in the upcoming weekend that could bring some snow into that area. So just a bit of a travel warning here. If you have to fly and you're connecting somewhere like in Minneapolis, that's a huge hub, of course, or Denver, another huge hub, these two areas are going to have major travel delays throughout this week. And even if your connecting flight is here in Dallas, remember, over the next 24 hours, we have extreme wind problems going on there. So please be careful as you are flying this week. All right, told you week 2 has this kind of wetter pattern. Again, I can see that subtropical jet influences. This is the GFS ensemble. It's quite a bit wetter here over the southeast than the European, but the European kind of has hints of this as well. So we'll keep a close eye on week 2. Again, this is taking you all the way out December 3rd through December 10th. It at least tells me that the pattern's not fully calming down. And I can see it better when I just look at the whole globe here, because what we're noticing during that time period, so again, this is getting us out around the 7th and 8th, is that the polar jet stream is doing something a bit like this. It's a pattern we've seen quite a bit. You see the stronger winds in there? Well, they're kind of joining up right down here. And this is very characteristic actually of this time of year to see the jet stream doing something like this. So again, week 2 doesn't actually portend a very dry pattern overall for our southern region. Now watch these temperatures as we start to wrap up this video. It's going to be a roller coaster ride, which is why I can't give you these like 5-day snapshots, okay? So as we play this forward, watch that. System number 1, look at the warm air that it pulls out ahead of it. But the thing is that warm air arrives early in the morning on Wednesday, and because of how rapidly the front advances through Texas, well, by the time we get to noon on Wednesday, that cold front is already pushed through the lower Mississippi River Valley, and the much colder air is tucked away on the behind it. For those of you in the southeast, yeah, we got some wet weather out ahead of this, but it's at least going to be warm, a warm day on Wednesday. But you'll quickly get the front through by the time we start off Thanksgiving. So this is the temperature anomalies early in the morning on Thanksgiving. Remember, at this time, though, we're watching system number 2 reload coming out of California. So while we have some cooler air in place on Thanksgiving, watch what happens on Friday. Friday morning, Friday midday, Friday afternoon and evening. Big shot at warm air out ahead of the next big low coming out of the north central plains. And it's the same thing. See, the warm air advects and moves across the country, and the cold air comes plunging in behind it. And as I said, to start off next week, that's going to be the coldest time period we're going to experience, with temperatures here that'll be generally about 5 to some locations about 10 to 12 degrees colder than average. So yeah, there's some cold air that's coming in behind this next system, system number 2. But then you're going to notice the models are trying to moderate things a bit. In other words, you don't see big plunges of cold air as we get out here past this time period. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think the models fully have the pattern pinned down at this point. I still see my strong subtropical jet stream issues going on here, but don't look at this and go, oh, it looks like we're getting into the first week of December and things are going to be nice, in terms of our weather. There's nothing right now that indicates a calming down of the pattern. And this is why I say that. The two things that I'm most concerned about moving forward are things that are not happening in the United States. They are happening elsewhere. So over the next 10 days, we're watching for substantial height rises in the base of the stratosphere. Now, what does that mean? Well, that tends to elongate, split, stretch, and cause problems with our polar vortex, which I've kind of labeled here with this two-sided arrow. Now, as that deforms and changes position, we will have to be watching for when lobes of the polar vortex are forced to move through parts of North America. Right now, the indication is this is going to be bigger impact on parts of Russia, all the way over toward, Europe. And we may kind of stay away from the initial nasty effects of the polar vortex weakening. And the other thing is, I've got to get this Indian Ocean dipole thing to calm down, and it is not doing it. You see that over the next few weeks, we just hang on to this pattern where there's strong upper level sinking motion here and rising motion there. You can see it in week 1 and week 2. It just isn't really displacing or changing too much over the next couple of weeks. And as a consequence, it's hard to give you much of a forecast that says, oh, anticipate large change now. It's not happening. So we'll watch it, give you that long range tomorrow. I hope you have a great week. Be very careful with these next few systems that are moving through, and we'll talk to you again. Thank you.